Alrighty, now that we've had that fun little technological diversion. Okay, and we will share this back again. Share. All right, so here we are. I was talking about chocolate cake and icing and stuff. So if you put cherries in the middle and you put whipped cream on top of it, you've got Black Forest cake, which is a very different experience than the death by chocolate cake. And so this is what changing your name does for you. It just gives you a different experience of what that chocolate cake you originally came in with is. Okay. In your case, you've done some really interesting things with your chocolate cake. In that, if you look at the point energies on this side, almost all of them you turned into ranges when you got married. And all of your range energies you turned into point energies. Isn't that interesting? It's like, okay, this is a little too restrictive. I want a little bit more flexibility. This is too flexible. Now I want a little more restriction. And I find that to be kind of an interesting observation. It's like, okay, I want more of a middle of the road experience as opposed to a more extreme experience, which is kind of neat. If we look at the energies that you've put against your physical challenges, the first thing we look at is the talent energies that you brought in, which are these two. Okay. So on the physical side of things, you brought in a 12 to 3 energy. And the archetype I think of with this energy is the teacher of teachers. Okay. You are very expansive, which is what this 12 symbol is about. You like to expand the things that you know, experience, and understand. And so people who run like a 12-3 energy are interested in a lot of things. It's like, oh, I've never thought about that. Let me find out more. So they tend to be not just spontaneous teachers, but they're continuous students as well, because there's always something new to look into and find out more about. The 3 energy remains the same, anchoring that end of it, the really introspective, I'm going to think it all the way through and come with a thoughtful reply to whatever is going on. And so you brought that energy in and you laid it right against your truth teller and basically said, okay, we're going to think about it before it comes spurting out of my mouth. We're going to consider it carefully. We're going to really think about what we're doing before we start pushing the envelope on the things that we're exploring and trying. You also brought that same energy in and laid that against the goal over here of continuously exploring. That in this case, the 12-3 is going to cause the expansion of this tendency to research. Okay, so it kind of exacerbates that tendency to research the heck out of things before you make a decision. 12-3s have, it's a gift and a curse at the same time, in that they can juggle a lot of stuff. They are the ultimate multitaskers, but you also have the curse of the busyness distracting from what you're here to do. And so it tends to lead to this, I don't finish things. I start things, I don't finish things. It's very easy to get into that trap. The things that you laid against your physical challenge over here is what I call the engineer energy. That's the 11-2. 11-2 people are very structured. They can easily look at complicated arrays of data and see the pattern in it and go, this is what's going on. They're also very resilient. They usually have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. And if none of those work out, they can come up with plan D on the fly. And so you brought that against your 5 to give it some structure, to give it a little more form and a little less formlessness. If we look at the 6 energy down here in your physical drives, you again brought in more structure, because 6-point energy is extremely structured and businesslike. And so you brought that in your goal position to kind of help curtail this endlessly circling and not deciding. Like, okay, we've done our research, now we will make a decision and we will move forward in a businesslike manner. Does all that make sense, or do you have any questions on that before we shift to the spiritual side?
No.
Is it all resonating so far?
Oh, yes, very much.
Okay. So moving to the spiritual side of things, we'll go look below the line here. You've got this unworthiness puzzle that you're working through. And you brought with you 5 energy, which is kind of interesting, to put against that unworthiness and to help you with this spiritual drive. 5 is a very intuitive energy, but it's also a very ungrounded energy. It's a little fluffy, if you will, kind of feathery. So it doesn't move things directly. It only kind of lightens or influences things. So you brought the 5 energy in probably for its intuitiveness, to give you insight into how you can move this, as opposed to being like a lever to move it with. Does that make sense?
I think so.
And that same 5 energy you brought into the same intuitiveness you brought into this, bringing your ideas into this world and expressing them out in a way that people connect to. So again, more intuition on how you can make that connection. Less mind, more intuition is what you brought in here. Now, if you look at what you piled directly against those, you brought here a 20 to 2 range. And I think of 20 to 2 as the explorer energy. People who have 20 to 2 energy as a gift are the kinds who have a tendency to come home from their 9-to-5 job and go, you know what, I'm going to throw a couple of things in my backpack and I'm going to head off to Europe and just see what happens. Okay. They're explorers. They trust the flow of life. They don't really, care for a rigid 9-to-5 sort of thing. And they're kind of continually in motion, exploring things, and very resilient to anything that gets thrown their way. It's like, whatever happens, I know I can deal with it. So you brought that energy in to sit right next to your worthiness. And that's actually an interesting energy to bring in, because there's a lot of courage and self-sufficiency that comes with this number. I can't write with my mouse. So you brought a lot of courage in to sit on your unworthiness and to help shift that. Do you have any questions around the 20 to 2?
It's interesting because I feel it. I feel the, like you say, the exploring and wanting to do things, but I always feel so hampered and hindered by my husband in actually doing this stuff.
Well, and he may not have any of that explorer energy in him. Some people are just homebodies. That doesn't stop you from continuing to explore and to do things, though. A lot of what I see with my 20 to 2 people is they are the kind that don't retire. They might officially retire from whatever their first career as a police officer or teacher or whatever it was. They take the pension and they go, that was nice. Now I'm going to start this other career. So they don't tend sit on the porch with their rocker, they tend to be out in the world doing.
Yeah. And that sounds like me. It's just making the money to be able to do that's been a hindrance, I guess, as my husband, almost feels like he's supporting me. So feeling like I need to, and that might be just in my head too, feeling like I have to kind of cater to what his needs are.
Yeah, and what his preferences are. I've had a little bit of that dynamic with my husband in my life, in that he's always made more money than I have up to this point. I'm feeling that start to shift now finally, which is like, oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
But most of that was in my head. I was talking to him the other day about something, I forget what it was. And he says, oh, before we talk about that, I just want to let you know how proud I am of you and what you're doing, and how impressed I am with what's been going on in your business. And it's like, wow. Here I thought
Nice.
I had like this distance I needed to go to be able to earn his respect and his regard. And like in my mind, that distance was bringing in as much money as he's bringing into the household. And the truth of the matter is I already have that regard, and it's not connected to the amount of money that comes into the household. It's like, oh, wow, I'm worthy all in myself.
It's different. Like my husband has been very vocal, and I'm not making the money like I used to, and you know we have bills to pay, and yeah,
And
I hear.
yeah, move on with it. Yeah. And I didn't stick his name in here, but that would probably give us some insight into what he's running and why that's a sticking point for him. My husband has fours as a is it a physical or a spiritual gift? I forget which one it is, but so he is not terribly concerned about where the money is coming from. He tends to trust that it's coming and it's showing up.
Okay. I just know my husband's got the same background as I, that it's hard and we have to work. We have to
Mhm.
work ourselves and practically kill ourselves to
To
make
make
anything. And
money. Yeah, it
you
doesn't go
shouldn't
on
spend it
easy.
frivolously, yeah,
Yeah.
by exploring and going places. And I do it anyway. And he won't talk to me for a week afterwards and a week before I go. And
It's like, oh
yeah,
well, but you could come along on this adventure and have these memories with me if you chose to. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. There it
So it's
is.
been a different.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see, and I can see where it would be especially difficult while you're moving this unworthiness to have somebody in your ear going, the money's not going to be there. We shouldn't be doing this. Definitely.
Mhm.
But I applaud you for doing it anyway. And
And
I
that's the only thing
salute your
that's getting
progress.
through. Yeah. Which is why I'm sicker and have more allergies and things when I come home. And I'm
Oh,
usually fine when I'm gone.
yeah,
Took me.
yeah. Well, yeah, because you've got five energy here and then you're running five energy here. So you've kind of doubled up on your five energy. So that'll increase your sensitivity. While it increased your intuition as well, it increases your sensitivity a little bit, or maybe a lot of it. Um, on the spiritual side of things, under your spiritual drives, you brought in more of this business like creative six energy to lean up against that 16-7. So that'll actually help to ground some of that 16-7 activity. Um, the secret or the key here, I think, for you is going to be really stepping out from behind the mask and stepping into your heart and showing your heart and your authentic self. That is really pivotal in making the 16-7 energy come to life. kind of a let it all hang out sort of approach. And just owning
That's
who you are and your experiences, and that they are perfect for what it is that you're here to do. Just owning that I'm a really down-to-earth person. I haven't been brainwashed with all of the stuff that happens in higher education and working in the commercial society. I'm still connected to the wisdom of the earth and that process, and I'm bringing that wisdom into your world through this book. And you have a depth of experience of maturing things like plants and animals and children and bringing them into their best and highest self. And just own that. Earth Mama.
that sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any questions around that?
No.
Okay, beautiful. And then you moved that 6 energy again into the overarching goal. So you put this really structured, physically manifesting energy right up next to your grounding emotions into this world. Oh, excuse me. Oh, and 6 is a very catalytic energy. That's a good position to have that in, because it'll help you to really tap into that divine manifesting side of yourself. And that'll help you with like the accessing the emotions, developing your discernment around people and where they're at. So I think that's a beautiful position for that to be in. You can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but my instinct is you've done a lot of work around the 3s, but you've still got a sticking point that you haven't quite managed to blast the unworthiness completely out of there. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I do, one of the things, the main thing that I do, as I mentioned, I'm a healer. And so readings are not like the center of what I do. They're the foundation of the healing work that I do. So every client who comes to me, I do their chart. Whether they ever ask for a reading on it, I use it as the jumping off point for moving them through and identifying their blocks. And so unworthiness is something that we work with quite a bit and are able to shift out. It's amazing how fast that goes when you can decide, yes, it's time for it to go, and my intention is for it to go. So I will put out there that, that is something that I work with frequently and very successfully. And there are amazing things that come out of that once you've blasted that out of your way. So if that's something you're interested in discussing, we can. If it's something you're not interested in discussing, that's fabulous too.
I would like to hear, what you offer.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I'm, going to do it at this time because, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The timing. I'm sorry?
Well, I'm just thinking, money-wise,
Yeah.
right now, where I'm sitting.
Exactly. It can be an interesting challenge to balance the ebb and flow of that. What I do is a process that I call conscious enlightenment. And I have 12, 13 different modalities that I've woven together into this process. that allows, I'm a gifted troubleshooter. And so it allows me to look at your human design, at your soul contract, to hear your story and the places where you're stuck, and to look at the pattern of all of this and go, aha, here are the broken points. We'll address those. And it allows us to move the most leveraged points. In other words, the whole point is to get you to a point where you're doing your own healing work on your own. And we've moved the stuff that you need help to move, as opposed to you need to come back to me for every little thing, which is, while it's a brilliant business model, it is not empowering to the people that you work with. And I want my clients to be empowered to walk back out the door and go into the world and do their big work, as opposed to, coming back to me all the time, all the time, all the time. I've right now in the process of setting up kind of what I would call a DIY sort of program. I'm calling it Second Saturdays with Sophia. And what we do is group healing around different archetypical blocks, finding your purpose, things that are keeping you from moving along your path, shifting, financial blocks, shifting unworthiness blocks, and doing them as a group session, which allows us to keep it like really super affordable. But I also do private one-on-one work as well. And the DIY one, I kind of think of that as a great solution for somebody who's really got to watch the finances, but is able to do some of their own work and just has a few things they need to get over as they're going along the path. And it's a community, there's support and all of that goes along with it. You don't have just me to talk to, you've got other people who are walking these similar sorts of paths. On the one-on-one side of things, I tend to do small sets of engagement, because when I do the work that I do, we tend to take things apart and then build things back up, which is why I don't typically offer a single session, because that'd be like calling the contractor in for remodeling and just having them do demo. Nobody's happy with that result. It's like, no, let's put some stuff back in place and then we'll send you off on your own. So I have a couple of packages that are on the smaller side of things that I can break into pieces when financial concerns are a challenge. And so that's a possibility also. And it allows for a completely customized experience of working on specifically what you need to work on specifically your timetable. So pros and cons both ways. Are you interested in hearing more about either of those options?
Both of them.
Okay.
Either one.
I'm feeling like I've got a 3-pack and a 4-pack that I'm doing right now. The 3-pack, and this is the private one-on-one work, we work with some of the virtual reality stuff that you bring into this life to keep you in separation and to keep you from hearing your higher self and your guides and really connecting to the divinity that you are. And that is 2 sessions that remove the main layers of the virtual reality equipment, and then 1 session of whatever other kind of healing is appropriate to your circumstance. The 4-pack is more open and more customizable. And this is where we kind of follow your body and your higher self, and we listen to what they have to tell us about what you need. And we just do whatever that next thing is down the road. And we don't worry necessarily about any of the virtual reality equipment at this moment. Because sometimes you don't need to remove that in order to get to where you're going. Sometimes you just need to reclaim your self-worth.
Okay.
The Let me bring this up so I don't make a mistake here. Shoot. Stop share. That's what I'm looking for. Ah, pull this up. I don't want to give you the wrong numbers because my pricing changed a little bit ago. So give me just a second. Packages. I have got to clean this up. We're down here somewhere. Okay, here it is. Yay. Okay. Oh, I hate this. I'm so sorry. Note to self, organize myself better. I need some of that 6 energy. That's that much is clear. Ah, stop it. Okay. There it is. Yay. Okay. Now I'm feeling better. Okay. So right now, I'm going to give you grandfathered pricing. So you won't be seeing the price increase, which is, I think, a fine thing. If we're looking at a 4-pack of this completely customized to whatever you need action, that right now is $976 for the package. That can be broken into payments. Typically, I break that into 3 or maybe 4 payments, depending on how your money flows. And the payments are set up to come out either monthly or biweekly, depending on, again, how your money flows. And we just decide what that needs to be. But the beauty of that is it sets that up as kind of independent from what the timing of the sessions needs to be. Okay, so if we get you into a 4-pack, for example, and we set up the payment plan, you can set up all 4 of those appointments over whatever time frame you want to set them up. So it's not like, oh, well, you have to have made all of your payments before we do something, or you can only get 1 session because you've only made 1 payment. That doesn't apply. Does that make sense?
Do you usually recommend like once a week, once a month, or how do you set it up? Once a day?
Yeah, no, typically how I set it up is whatever feels like works right for you. When you're on a 4-pack like that, we can kind of time it with whatever feels right in your life. And so typically what'll happen is somebody else sets something right away, will work on it, and then they'll go, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. And maybe they'll come back in 2 weeks, maybe they come back in a month and say, okay, I'm ready for whatever the next thing is. I've integrated what we shifted. And that's kind of how the rhythm goes with a 4-pack like that. We just let you feel into it. How is it going? And sometimes, maybe it's a month before the next session, we shift some stuff around, and then you're back in another week going, okay, I need to do something different because it's not integrating quite right, or there's more stuff coming up and we might do too close together, and then you're in good shape, and then it might go another month or more. So we just kind of time it, whatever is working for you in that moment, and take it from there. I've had people who take the 4-pack and they knock it out within a month, and I have other people who take the 4-pack and will use it over the course of a year. So whatever timing works for you, it never expires, because the soul has its own timing. Okay. If we're doing a 3-pack and removing the virtual reality equipment and doing that stuff, there is some particular timing that goes around the 2 sessions of the virtual reality equipment removal, because it causes a lot of drama as you're going through the first 2 sessions. So I like to put those as close together as I can. And then the 3rd session we can time at whatever interval feels appropriate to you, similar to what we were talking about with the 4-pack. And so you can do the random session before we go into the equipment removal, or you can do it after. It doesn't matter. Okay. So that's what those 2 are about. The price point on the 3-pack of the virtual reality equipment removal is $750. And again, that one can be broken into 2 or 3 payments as well. As far as second Saturdays go, which is like the DIY approach, that consists of a monthly session, and it's a group session, and we work on a topic that's predetermined in advance by the group. And so that topic will rotate, and when you're part of the group, you get a voice in what the next topic is going to be. The sessions for that are done over Zoom, similar to this. And you can share as much or as little as you want to share in that session. And we just kind of follow the energy of the group on what needs to be cleared around that topic. The beautiful thing about a group session like that is when you bring a group of people together, as you experienced with the Power of 8, is everything multiplies as far as shifting things go. And so it's excellent for shifting things like fear of death and obliteration and abandonment and unworthiness and this kind of thing, because the power of the group is such a multiplier. The downside is, it's a group timing, it's not just your individual timing. The beautiful thing about second Saturdays, in addition to the power of the group, is you get access to the group as you're going along as well. So there's community support for things that are going on for you in between these monthly sessions, which are second Saturdays. So there's that. And the price point on it is uber affordable, because right now I'm doing an establishment rate of $47. And so for as long as you're part of the group and you maintain that monthly membership, that's what your rate will be. It won't ever go up.
And that's $40.
I'm sorry?
$47 per month.
Per month, yes. So there's that option. And that is uber affordable, but again, the timing of topics is dictated by the group, not necessarily your individual personal needs. So there's always a trade-off. But the group is small, so you have a lot of influence when the group is small. So that's that's kind of the upshot of it. What are your thoughts at this moment? What are you kind of predisposed towards? What are your hesitations?
Um, I'm not sure if I really have thoughts right now, or if I'm, really consciously gonna jump in. I don't know if I'm feeling that right now.
Well, you're not a
And
jump in
not for
kind of
any
girl. we
right.
we already
I
got that off
process.
the off the chart exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know if this is just good for right now, for today, the prices. Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna jump in.
No, I'm not asking you to jump in at this moment. I'm just offering for information and exploration at this moment.
Yeah.
Because I know that is also big for you.
Yes, it is. And I appreciate, everything that we did today too. I thank you for all that. That was good exploration also,
Oh,
in,
yes.
learning about myself. It's a little overwhelming, it's a lot,
Mhm.
but everything seemed to, fit and be what I expected it.
Exactly. And
Or I mean, it fit with what's happened in my life. Is maybe that
exactly.
explained it better.
There weren't any clinkers in there that it's like, what on earth are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it wasn't.
I'm gonna explore and see what happened with the recording because I'm not sure with the weirdness that went on what the situation will be there. I will send you what I have of the recording.
Okay.
Um, and my apologies for anything that is not there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, especially, I don't know if it might have been on my end. I have no clue. Obviously
Uh,
it was. If I
I I I don't know where the problem ended up, but it's clear that there was a problem, and it could very well have just been Zoom. It might not have been either of us, so we'll see.
Okay.
Well, it's been a pleasure
Okay.
for you, my love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was very enlightening
Yes,
and almost entertaining, too.
that's beautiful. So, yeah, do you want me to send any of the numbers over to you to think about, or you want to just ponder on that? What's your thinking on that front? What's useful to you?
Oh, well, I wrote things down.
Okay,
So I have things written down. So I have
lovely.
that.
All right. That sounds good. So I will send you over whatever turns out to be the situation with the recording. Blessings, my
Okay.
dear. Do not be a stranger.
Okay.
You know where to find
Well,
me.
thank you. Okay. Yes. Yes. And you're in our Power of Eight group. I'm not sure how that works for you.
Well, the timing on it so far hasn't been fantastic, but I'm
I
within
know.
that Facebook group, so there's always a place you can find me as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye.